Hi, this is Brandon from BLR Life Coaching, and I wanted to talk about how I highly recommend people read and study the works of Neville Goddard. His material has become really popular these days. You see it all over the internet. Tons and tons of gurus and coaches teach his material in their own and different and unique ways. And I just wanted to share a passage from one of his books, or part of his book. It's Out of This World and The Search. And The Search is a section where he really gets into his philosophy. And there's the first section of it is just amazing, where he says, once in an idle interval at sea, I meditated on the perfect state and wondered what I would be were I have two pure eyes to behold iniquity. So here he's meditating on perfection and the perfect state of being, and where nothing in his view could be evil, wicked, or imperfect. And then he says, if to me all things were pure and I were without condemnation, which elaborates on what he just said. As I became lost in this fiery brooding, I found myself lifted above the dark environment of the senses, so intense that this feeling I felt myself a being of fire dwelling in a body of air. So he's almost having like an out of body experience. He's being transformed by the state of meditation that he's in, and his voices as from a heavenly chorus, with the exaltation of those who had been lifted, who had been conquerors in the conflict with death, were singing, "He is risen, he is risen," and intuitively know they meant me. So he's essentially become almost like been reborn through meditating on the state of perfection. Then I seemed to be walking in the night. I soon came upon a scene that might have been the ancient pool of Bethesda. So that's when they're talking about in the Bible, a place where people went to get healed. For in this place lay a great multitude of impotent folk. It means people who are like, messed up, kind of helpless, blind, halt, withered, waiting not for the moving of the water as of tradition, but waiting for me. As I came near, without thought or any effort on my part, they were one after the other molded as by the magician of the beautiful. I love that term. Eyes, hands, feet, all missing members were drawn from some invisible reservoir and molded in harmony with that perfection, which I felt springing within me. Sorry about that. I'm getting a little goofy here. When all were made perfect, the chorus exulted, "It is finished," and the scene dissolved, and I awoke. So he's saying, I know this vision is a result of my intense meditation upon the idea of perfection, for my meditations invariably bring about the union of state contemplated. So basically what he's saying is he created this state, and so naturally everything about him became perfect. Nothing before him could be, lame, people with limbs missing, that kind of thing. So this is where I think what he's talking about his you connect states with moods. He said, I first discovered this close relationships of moods to vision when I was aged about 7. And he goes about this idea of this force that was awakening within him, which was essentially his higher self. So this is all really more interesting. Interesting in how he sort of conceives it was scary at first. So it's like the storming sea, and then he's a force of might, and then he becomes a force of love. It says, my mystical experiences have convinced me that there's no way for us to bring about the outer perfection we seek other than the transformation of ourselves. As soon as we succeed in transforming ourselves, the world will melt magically before our eyes and reshape itself in harmony with that which our transformation affirms. I'm sorry about moving this thing around like this. But so this is the core of his philosophy, that your imagination and states and your self-concept creates your reality. And this idea that he's he's actually like making people perfect by his state of creating inner perfection within himself. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I wanted to share that. And I mean, the rest of this is just absolutely mind blowing, amazing stuff. So I highly recommend you study this. But this is the section. I mean, all the other books tell you basically how to apply his ideas and go into that. He talks about other visions, and there's like some case histories and different stories of people that he had helped. But this particular part, the search, is where I think he really outlines his ideas. So, it's just amazing stuff.